Fractions are those that confuse students. They confuse them because students have difficulties with fractions. But if we go step by step and remember our rules, it should be straightforward. So, I'm going to show you two different ways of doing this one. This is x minus 7 over 3 equals 3x minus 5 over 2. Okay. So we can do this two ways. We can eliminate these fractions because fractions are difficult to work with. So what we can do is find a common denominator. And once you've found a common denominator, you're going to multiply all terms by the common denominator. Okay? All right. So if I look at 3 and 2, common denominator would be 6. So what I do then is I write x minus 7 over 3 equals 3x minus 5 over 2. And I multiply everything here in brackets by 6 and here in brackets by 6. Now watch what happens. This is multiplied 6 times x minus 7 and then divided by 3. I could just look at this and say 6 divided by 3. 6 goes into 3 twice. 6 goes into 2 3 times. Do you see how I've eliminated my fraction, my denominator? And I rewrite this like this. And then I go on and do the distributive property like this. And I get 2x minus 14 equals 3 times 3x, 9x. 3 times negative 5 minus 15. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring, I'm going to erase this so we can have some room here. We are going to bring the x's to one side, the like terms together really, and the numbers on the other side. And so here we have, I'm going to bring this one over, this one over. You can bring them either side, it doesn't matter. 2x minus 9x, because we're doing the opposite, and negative 15 plus 14. This gives me negative 7x, and this gives me negative 1. And then I need to divide both by negative 7, and so x is equal to 1 over 7. And there you have it. Okay? Now I said there were two ways of doing this. Finding the common denominator eliminates the fraction. And basically what I've done with that is a little bit of what we did before. Because if we look at this question, I can say to myself, the opposite of this being divided by 3 is to multiply this by 3. But if I'm going to do it to this side, I must also do it to that side. And then I say to myself, well, the opposite of this being divided by 2 is multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply this by 2. But I have to also do it to this side. And so you see that I do get 6x minus 7 over 3 equals 3x minus 5 times 6 and over 2. And these can cancel out, and these can cancel out. So it's the same thing. Basically, I'm just showing you two ways of thinking about it. So I actually, using what I've taught you before about doing the opposite operation, we still ended up with 6, and it is also the common denominator of 3 and 2. Okay? So that was another way of showing it. Now, that doesn't always work, because when you have something like this, here we have a complicated one. Okay. The reason I'm saying that for this one it's not going to work unless, well, it will work. You just have to remember that this number here is over 1. And when you find a common denominator, you are doing it for this one also. And in this case, your common denominator will be 12. But before you do that, there are several ways of doing this question. We can do it by starting to use distributive property before we start eliminating the fractions. So I'm going to suggest doing that first. So let's do that. Let's use distributive property here and simplify a little bit our task. And so here we've got 4x minus 8 all over 3 minus 3. I like to put over 1 so I remember that this number also has a denominator of 1. It's not, you don't need to put it, but for this case, let's put it in so we don't forget. That's 5x plus 15 all over 4. And now I've simplified it somewhat, and now my common denominator is going to be 12. Lowest common denominator. And this is the one that students usually forget to multiply by because originally it didn't look like a fraction. And this is times 12. Now, this 12 goes into 3 4 times. This 12 goes into 1 12, so it remains there. And this 12 goes into 4 3 times. So I'm going to rewrite this 4x minus 8 and minus 12 times 3 equals 3 times 5x plus 15. I think you can see that, right? And now we're going to continue and use distributive property here. And I'm going to use it here also. And that's 16x minus 32 minus 36 equals 15x plus 45. Let's see if we can simplify any of these sides. Well, these are numbers here. We can simplify those. So that's 16x minus 68, negative 32, negative 36 equals 15x plus 45. Now I've got x's on these two, and I've got numbers here. So let's throw some things overboard. This one's going to go there, and that one's going to come over here. And let's see what that gives us. We'll use this color here to continue. 16x minus 15x is equal to 45 plus 68. And so if we continue, I'm going to bring it up here. That's x is equal to 45 plus 68 is equal to 113. Okay? And that's how you would do this. And there we have it. And now we have solved one-step equations, two-step, and multi-step, and those with fraction. Well done.